Welcome to the second episode of the Successism Podcast, hosted by Ashley Butterworth and me, Alex Waplington. Today's topic has been chosen by Ash, and we're going to get straight into it and see what you're thinking about. So go on.
Right, thanks for the introduction. I didn't want to pose it as a question today. I wanted to do it more as just more free form from last time, just to make it a bit less rigid. So the conversation I wanted to have today was about exceeding people's expectations, and the quote, "You can't be a prophet in your own town." It's just something I've been thinking about a while. I've just been thinking, because obviously I come back home after uni, and it's been about 6 years since I left high school, and it's just that some people, you'll never exceed some people's perceptions of you, and I just wanted to get your opinions on that and talk about any experiences where you think that's really shown up for you and really surprised you with certain people. I just think that everybody has a perception of you that you can't change, or they don't look at your ability to change. So to them, you'll always be the person you were, say, 5 years ago, as the person you are now. And we're two very completely different people, and we've been on our path to success. And I just wanted to get your opinion on it. So my first question would be, is there an instance of you've ever, somebody that you thought you were really close with, but say they switched up on you, or the way you thought the relationship would go has not gone, and they look at you as if you were the younger Alex as opposed to the Alex you are now?
Well, I mean, yeah, basically not everyone, but I mean, I suppose that's part of life, and I guess especially at our age, you know, we're 22, almost 23. It's a weird kind of fluid time. There's a lot of like viscosity of where your personality goes and where your career goes, and then actual geographical locations people move with uni and stuff. And I feel like that kind of 15 to like, I guess maybe 30, but I haven't reached there yet, but especially to 25 is like a super, just really fluid and loose kind of time. And I've definitely noticed that I've changed, like, basically entirely, really, especially since I was in school, like, and it's, you know, it's a kind of weird one that I do think about, but I don't really know how I feel about it. I guess it's kind of, it's a hard one, because I'm kind of half and half. Like, you've got to just accept that people are gonna change, and that you're gonna change, and if you are changing, then you're never gonna be able to connect with people that the same as you did, you know, back when you were a kid, or back when you did have these same interests. And I remember it's very wise saying, George Harrison from the Beatles, he said later in his life, people used to always say to him he was the Beatle who changed the most, and that he changed and he switched up on the band and stuff, and and he replied with, well, isn't that what I'm supposed to do? You know, I think he was probably 27, 28 at the time. Am I not supposed to have changed? And I think that, and it was like, well, basically that's what life's all about, and I agree. You know, I mean, especially at this kind of age, when you're a young adult and older, maybe up to like in your 30s, it's a weird time. It's kind of a time where you transition from these friends that you know out of necessity to actually finding some people that you actually feel like you connect with on a bit of a deeper level. I mean, how many people, it's kind of weird to think about, like, all these friends that you knew, you think you were super close with these people, especially when you're young, when, you know, in your teens. You think, oh wow, this guy, you know, I've known him, we're high school friends together, we hang out all the time. It's like, yeah, you know, you probably are friends, but you're only really friends because you live in the same city. I mean, it's not like you're really kindred spirits. I mean, you could say, obviously that's a very, like, you could say that about anyone, that you only meet them because you're in the same city, but a lot of friendships are kind of just formed out of convenience rather than.
So what has that taught you about yourself and about maybe the world? And another question for you is, how have you changed or perceive that you've changed? And do you think people recognise that, or do you think they don't recognise that? And that goes without saying, the credit or not? Do you think people give you credit for the changes you've made, and the changes you made forced?
I don't really think people probably do give me credit, but probably because people don't really know what I'm up to. I don't really like to keep people in touch with what I'm doing. I mean, obviously, I took a long time off social media, like almost 2 years, and I'm still only on Instagram. And it's like, and I don't really have a massive following. I like to keep it within people that I know of, or who are girls, I mean, to be fair. But it's, I mean, yeah, I guess I always kind of, I've felt like I don't necessarily get the credit for what I feel like I deserve. But then at the same time, it's like, well, I guess I don't really deserve it. You can't expect people to look at me and go, wow, that Alex, he's destined to be something, because they've got their own, they've got their own life. And like, you sit and, obviously we all, or maybe not all of us, but I've always sat there and thought, one day I'm going to show these lot, and they'll say, Alex Waplington, I used to know him, he were a cool guy, I can't believe he's achieved what he's achieved. And part of me wants to have that kind of ego boost and be like, yeah, you could have known. But at the same time, I guess as I kind of get a bit older and I start to just think, you can't hold a grudge at someone for things that they don't even know. I mean, you could say the same for me. I'm not thinking about so-and-so from high school, what he's going to achieve with his life. And, should he really think the same about me? Probably not. It'd be a bit weird if he did. But, I mean, we all want credit as humans. And, I've changed a lot. And I feel like that's part of the kind of the problem, in a way, that people probably do think of me in a certain way, like that, the funny guy from school with the curly hair and all that stuff. But I mean, times have changed, man. And
how do you think that affects you in life now? Do you think you rely upon, because I know a lot of people in life, and myself, I've been guilty of it, other people's perception of yourself kind of creeps into your life and kind of sometimes stops you doing stuff or makes you do stuff because of a feeling of how people perceive you or how you want to be perceived? Is that something you struggle with? Sure, I have interest.
I think probably everyone does. At the end of the day, we're just smart monkeys, and obviously we're animals, we're mammals, and we have to be part of we're designed biologically to be part of a group and to survive. And that, if you think about it in a sort of biological sense, the guys who were being cast out the group, they weren't breeding, they weren't passing on the genes, and they were probably dying a lot quicker. And if you you've got to kind of extrapolate that out and look at society now, because society is such a crazy sort of system that we've got set up, and it's not always easy to kind of look at things purely biological. And now you kind of face the opposite problem, where you're like, right, we've superseded what nature intended for us. In this is kind of how humans think. We think we've kind of beaten nature in some way, and that we shouldn't care about how people think. But I mean, I don't think, I'm not sure, but I doubt there is ever a time that any human ever doesn't care what people think.
Have you read the sort of like Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson?
No, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, you probably will. A very popular book, and in it, just to paraphrase a little bit, he summarises that the action of choosing not to give a fuck within itself is an action of giving a fuck, because you're caring enough to tell yourself that I'm not going to care anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
And sometimes, say for myself, I find it's a really hard place to be in, and it's one of those nuances that another one that I struggle with, in terms of I'm looking around and I'm thinking, like, yeah, right, I want to be successful. I want to be successful for me, yeah? I want to be successful. I want to have a nice house. I want to have a nice car. I want to have X, Y, Z. I want to have etc., etc. But within having all that, I've got asked the question, but why do you need a Ferrari? And I'll give out the argument of, I've always liked fast cars. On my 10th birthday, I had a supercar experience. I was in Porsche 911, and I've just always had a love for supercars, and boys generally do have a love for fast cars when they're younger, fast, throttle, hard-on stuff, and that's the excuse I've been given. But to a degree, it's the perception that it gives you, like status, and it gives you, oh, he's got Ferrari, he must be cool. And it comes to chapter 7 in Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel, and he says that people don't care about you. When so if you're driving a fast car down the street, they don't care about you. They don't look and think about, oh, he must be cool in that fast car. They think about, that's a cool car. People would perceive me as cool if I had that fast car. So you don't really realise that, and it's just something I've been struggling with, because it's like, on one side I'm saying I want a fast car, but that car practically does the same thing as most of the cars not even at that price point, cheaper cars, the car I'm in now, the car I drive. And it's just that whole argument of trying to find in the middle where people's perception lies on importance to me. And it probably is a higher degree than I like to admit. I was wondering if that is the same with yourself, and if you find yourself in situations where you tell yourself something, but in reality, in your head, if you really, really completely scrutinise your reasons and your honesty, it is to people to look at you and think, you know what, that Ash, I didn't think he could reach those levels, but now look at him, he's driving a Ferrari, so he must be rich, he's got a big house, X, Y, Z, he's got this watch on, kids, everything, is in this position. And I just wanted to get your perception of that and your opinion, because I've been grappling with that recently.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't say everyone that sort of searches for kind of a bit of success in their life more than sort of the average person. I would imagine a lot of the people who kind of reach there are quite introspective thinkers, so I would imagine quite a lot of people who are on this journey reach a similar point, and probably a lot of the people listening can kind of resonate with that. I think at a certain point, like the whole money thing, the whole, oh, I want to drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini Aventador, it is completely asinine, and it's entirely, even though we all want to say no, it's for some reason it is 100% ego. That's all it is.
Perception, do you think?
And I mean, I don't see how it could be anything else, because like you said, I mean, for a start, there's speed limits, so you're gonna get me driving to Manchester in a Lamborghini. Yeah, you can afford the speeding tickets, fair enough, but you're not going to be flying 200 mile an hour down the motorway because there's so many cars.
Yeah, you probably get banned as
well. And you know, a $5,000 car does the same job. I mean, I'm sat in my Polo right now. It's always done me well. It's reliable. You know, when I get more money, I can guarantee you that I'm going to buy something ridiculous, a Lamborghini Aventador, blacked out, and I'll probably sit in it and think, oh, well, you know, this is just a car. Probably feels cool for like the first day, like when you buy anything. And I think all them things, you have this idea, or I have this idea, like, well, when I get this, man, it's gonna be sick. When I get my first record that blows up, man, it's gonna be so sick. It's gonna change my life. I'm gonna feel like the man. I don't think it is it really? I think because of the movies and this sort of dream that you get sold, you have this idea that you work your whole life to get to this moment, and then from there you're smooth sailing. I think, you know, I could foresee me having money as giving me more issues.
A lot of people do say that. A lot of people do kind of say that.
I know Jay-Z said it. The whole more money, more problems shit. Yeah. And I just don't know. I think and especially for men, I can't speak for women as much. Obviously, I'm not saying it's entirely different, but for guys, we have this yearning for all the women in the world to desire us, or at least I can say for me, if it were up to me, I'd want every woman, me walk down the street and women begging for me, women looking at me and going, look at him, he's in the Lamborghini Aventador, he doesn't care, he's Alex, he's one of the biggest artists on the planet, I'd do anything for him. And guys, you know, we say these things that we don't care, of course we do, it's actually, in a weird way, it's all we care about. And it's like, you know, I guarantee, I mean, obviously, the making money for like my mum and my sister and making sure that I'm secure is great. But if I had 50 million quid in my pocket and nobody knew who I was, no women were interested in me, no guys were interested in talking to me or being friends with me, I guarantee I'd be miserable. So it's like it gets to this weird kind of paradox where it's like I need the money, but it's actually just the things that you think you're going to get from money that you're really chasing. I mean, obviously the money's just a tool, but I think every kind of guy or person that's on this journey is like, wow, I'm going to get this money and everything's going to change. People are going to respect me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really sure that they necessarily will. Like you said about the thing in the car, and I'm not really sure if I misinterpreted it, but it is kind of true. It's like, I'll see a guy in a Ferrari and I don't think, wow, that guy's super cool.
Do you even think about the guy?
No, I look at him for a second and maybe think, you fucker.
Yeah.
But you rarely think
you
look at the car and
you
go,
look at the
fuck
car
me,
and
I
think,
want that car. I need that car. It is a good point, but I guarantee that guy in the car, when I look at him,
he thinks you're looking at him.
That guy's looking at me, and he's looking at me because I'm the king. I'm sat in the Lamborghini. Because we see a few nice cars around here and stuff, and I do always look at them, obviously, because you're gonna. And yeah, I mean, it is a weird thing. It's like it's some sort of weird kind of destination that you arrive to, where one guy has achieved everything that you dream of, and you're on the journey, and both of you are in the exact same place in terms of like your insecurities. He's looking at me hoping that I look at him going, oh god,
that
I
point
respect
on
him
insecurities
so much. But he's looking at me, he's looking back at me, and I'm thinking he doesn't respect me at all, because he's in the lamb. I want him to respect me.
Yeah,
it's like a weird sort of tug of war.
It honestly is, and it's just, as you're saying, going on to be successful people, it's just. So I saw Kevin De Bruyne. I don't know if any of you are football fans, but I saw him in an Aston Martin, no tints, no private number plate, drove past me. And when you think about it, he's just getting on with his day. Yeah, we all idolise him, plays football, he's one of the best, but he's getting on with his day. He's a normal guy, yeah. And it's like, he's only human. He's as human as we are. He's just got more resources in a way. And it's just a weird paradox that I found myself grappling with. And it obviously, to link it back to my whole point of the whole conversation in a wider scale, is we're always wanting to show people that we've grown and we've changed. And we want people to look at us in a better light. Obviously, if you're developing, you're doing the right thing. And if you're listening and you're on the same journey as us, you'll probably understand it. You want people to look at you and say, he's grown, he's changed, can you see that? But most of the time, people are caught up in their own lives that they won't even see, they won't even notice. And it goes back to something I heard a while ago about we're all the directors and the main actor in a theatre play, and the theatre play is our lives. And people will come into your life and they will be characters in your life for a lot of it. Some people will come on, make a quick appearance and exit stage left. But at the end of the day, when you look back on your story, you were the director, but you were also the main character in it. And everyone else in life is the main character of their own lives. So it's just trying to figure out the solution, or what the option is, in terms of finding a balance between living a life that's purposeful and that brings you happiness and fulfillment, to living a life that obviously the opposite. But in between that is, where do you balance and where do you scale up people's perceptions, and how does that impact what you do, and does it positively impact you or negatively impact you? I don't know if you want to throw anything else onto that. Those are just my throwaway thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I guess it's just kind of it's something that you're going to have to come to terms with. I don't mean you specifically, everyone that listening, me, that you kind of, at the end of the day, we are humans. And I've recently been kind of thinking about this. Like, your whole life, you go to school and they teach you all these things, and you think that you're so smart, you think you're all these things. At the end of the day, we are humans and we are animals, and we have certain things that are designed to keep us alive back in the caveman days. Things like the ego, the need for like sexual validation from obviously the opposite sex, or if you're gay or whatever. But like you need the ego boost. Back in the day, you wanted people telling you, this guy's the guy, he's been hunting all day, he's got all these animals. these are part of being a human, and I think it's a weird one, because try and don't fight it, but also don't let it push you over. Like, let the ego do its thing, because if we didn't have an ego, well, we would have never made it this far. But also, if we didn't have one now, I mean, we'd just be sat probably watching TV all day. You need, especially for men, I can't comment as much for women, because we have the element of testosterone as well that changes things, where we have this aggression and this desire to kind of outcompete our fellow males, and so that definitely helps. But obviously, my ego's huge. I'm not going to sit and pretend it's not. When I go kickboxing and I get my ass kicked, I'm pissed. When I go kickboxing and kick some ass, I'm talking shit to the guys all the time. I'm saying, you didn't like that, all this stuff. I love it. When I write a good song, it makes me feel amazing. When I write a terrible song, it makes me feel worthless. And it's like, you've got to learn to kind of... It's like when I was going to therapy, and my therapist told me about how to kind of work with your anxiety. And she kept saying, don't fight with it. Like, don't have a tug of war with it. Just let it kind of be. And I think that's probably a fair assessment when it comes to like the ego. And you're always going to want people that you went to school with, or girls that didn't give you the time of day. You're always going to want to look at them and be like, yeah, I bet you want me now. That's part of life. But also, if you live your life solely on that, you're going to struggle, because as much as we are animals, we do have some kind of higher consciousness, and you've got to kind of... I feel like the ego and stuff is kind of... I feel like sometimes it drags us down.
Yeah.
And all these human animal tendencies that we have, things like sexual desire, or aggression to compete, or the ego, things of that nature, I feel like they kind of they bring you back down to being a human, whereas we really do have this sort of gift to be something a bit more evangelical, something a bit more, I guess, like in a sort of spiritual way, and you've got to kind of just learn to handle that. And if you're kind of struggling with it, maybe, I mean, either talk to like a therapist about it, maybe won't be a bad idea, or do something.
You know what I see? Sorry to interrupt you. What I see is...
what I'm going to say anyway.
What I see is, and I don't know if it's the same for you, is, so I had a conversation with my friend Michael a while ago, and it was in terms of, so this drive for success, for people that wanting to be successful, we're trying to figure out where does it come from. And tracing back, it comes from, as you said, everything and every drive comes from an insecurity. I'll describe it as an insecurity to begin with. It probably is that, but it's an insecurity. So a lack thereof. My friends had this and I couldn't afford that, and I grew up in this kind of situation, they grew up in that situation, and you swore to yourself that I'll never feel this way again, which leans into the point of, now you're older, you want to be successful because you don't want to struggle again, that fear of struggling, which comes back to your point of the ego. And then it's, people perceived me this way before, I don't want people to perceive me this way again. You know what I mean? I didn't like the way that made me feel. So it comes back to that. And I just find, and I don't know if it's the same for you, and I just find with the journey to success, a lot of it now, it does come from an intrinsic insecurity that I've grown up with, that developed at a very young age, and a lack thereof, that's led me to try and pursue heavily on what I'm doing now and on my goals. And it's just interesting to see what your opinion is on that, and whether you relate, or you can tell me or pinpoint at which specific point it was that you realize, you know what, everybody's got this, I ain't got this, but this is what I want. Because for me, it was, say, non-uniform days and people coming in, and you got unbranded trainers and they've got X, Y, Z, and I didn't have this or that for a long time, and you're just looking at everyone else and you got the lack of, and it's just, from then I was like, you know what, I can't feel like this again. And it might sound minor, and I think that just manifested into the hunger and desire and persistence I've got now. Well, I want to know your story and how you feel about it, and tell it your way.
I mean, I'm not I can't say this exactly was the moment, but I'd imagine. I mean, I sort of spent a lot of time as a kid, like, sort of not getting much kind of attention. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, this is a sob story, because it's really not. But that is just the truth. Like, I didn't get much sort of validation or, anyone sort of telling me I can achieve great things, or that I have achieved good things. And I think that, I guess, it's not like it wasn't a moment, but it was kind of just an amalgamation of, like, my whole sort of childhood, maybe being up to, like, I guess up to sort of now. But I just felt like people didn't truly understand what I was capable of, and I felt I guess it wasn't disrespected, but, like, in a way, like, I mean, I guess it was kind of like unloved in a way. And so I guess it sort of developed me into this person that was like, well,
I'm going to show them.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that everyone loves me.
Everybody knows me.
I mean, even in school, like, obviously Ash will know, like, I was like, literally everyone liked me in school.
Yeah.
Like, literally every single person. It was kind of crazy in, like, high school.
Yeah.
And I kind of did it just by basically just, like, compromising myself. And I didn't really realise I was doing this. But for everybody to like you, I mean, it basically means that you never disagree with anyone.
It's not possible, is it?
Yeah, it's just not possible. And so I think it kind of, that whole experience of being a kid and not wanting people to like me so bad, it meant that I ended up sort of losing myself in the process. And then you kind of get to a point now where I'm like, I'm not sure anybody fucking likes me anymore. I've got, like, one friend, a couple of people that are, like, acquaintances, and that's sort of it. And yeah, I mean, I'd probably say that's kind of where it started for me, but it wasn't something that I really knew at the time. I always had an idea, but the thing is, when you're in, like, these patterns, it's really hard to, like, break out of, like, behavioural patterns. And one thing that were good for me is, like, the finishing college and finishing high school kind of thing, and you stop seeing these people that you know, and it gives you a chance to kind of rebuild yourself as this new person. I mean, I didn't go to uni, but Ash went to uni in Nottingham, and, like, I spent a lot of time alone, and it gave me a chance to kind of, at the time I wasn't necessarily doing it because all I was doing was just smoking weed and working, but as I sort of came out of that, I started to kind of realise, like, well, you know, I've got to do what's right for me.
What's right for you. And the thing is, touching on that point that you said about rebuilding yourself, I think that's really important, because we're on about the perception of people's perception of yourselves and our perception of what people perceive of us, which is a handful, I can imagine. But I think a few things happened in terms of that. So for me in my life, so one was high school. I wanted to go to high school that all my friends from primary school went to, and my mum said, no, you need to go to the same one as your brother. So it's a bit further away. There'll be nobody there that you know directly. And that was a big change for me. And at the time, I was so pissed off at my parents. I was so mad that, why are you doing this to me, taking me away? But what I didn't realise, what it gave me, was an opportunity to reinvent myself. Is the opportunity to go. These people don't know you now. So now, who you can be and who you want to be, you can now shape that yourself. Your dough. You can make a mold of whatever you want to be now, and now that's who you are. And I just thought that was really important, because then it could change. So I was able to change myself a little. And obviously when you're younger, you have more friends than you do now. And I think I really benefited from that. And then going from high school into college, I made the decision of, I went to college. It was more of where everyone was going, but I didn't get into the one I wanted to go to. But what happened was, the friendship group I was with, and you were in that friendship group, and you didn't go to college to begin with, did you?
I dropped out.
You dropped out. So I decided I'm not going to be friends with the people I was in high school. A lot of them, the group, I didn't like 50-60% of them. The ones that I did were in my lessons, and I spoke to.
This is the group that we used to hang out with at high school, by the way.
Yeah. So it was like, I was like, you know what, I need to go and find my own people, because I'm not the guy that goes and drinks in fields and does all this and X, Y, Z. so I need to find people that are more for me. And I went and I found my friend Sean and a couple of others, and formed a friendship group of about 4. And for 2-3 years, those were my friends. And I just was able to reinvent myself there. And then obviously going to university again, nobody knew. I went to Nottingham, England, and I didn't intend to go there either. That was my insurance choice, and COVID, so it meant I got results that weren't actually the results that I needed to get into where I went. But it ended up being so good because I was able to reinvent myself again. And then you're coming back home and you're a complete different person, and you meet different people. You're able to change who you are and adapt yourself. And I was wondering, is that something, because you didn't quite get to go, maybe say university, live away, is that something you think you've missed out on, or do you think you still grapple with the struggles of the ties of sometimes you do have to talk to people we went to school with because they some of them stayed here and you stayed here, and say I didn't, so I don't really have an association with anybody. I have minimal contact with them all, and I'm not really that arsed. Do you think that's something that you've struggled with, or just your opinion in general of that on reinventing yourself?
Well, I mean, and I think I know for a fact that 99, or there's the odd one. You know, Ash was always kind of different to me because a lot of people didn't like him. He were a bit too like abrasive, and a lot of people didn't like that, and a lot of people didn't like him. And I always used to kind of think, like, I remember being back in high school and stuff, and me and Ash were good friends, we'd hang out all the time, but I always used to think, like, why does nobody like him? Like, is he a knobhead? Is he a dick? Like, because a lot of people in our sort of group, we had, like, a kind of group that, like, me and Ash kind of joined, but we weren't, like, originally part of, like, the sort of group. And I always used to kind of wonder, like, why people tended to not like Ash quite often, and I always kind of used to think about it, and I never really got quite to the conclusion, but I sort of used to think maybe it's just because he's a bit of a dick, and
could be
but because he's like he were never afraid to kind of share his opinion, and so it meant that a lot of people weren't a big fan of him, which, you know, is obviously a good quality to have now, but when you're 16, 15, most people are trying just to fit in. And so I always used to kind of think about that, and like me and Ash, we spoke a bit through college, but I were going through like my whole weed smoking phase, and I was just on like autopilot, to be honest. I wasn't in a great place, but we kept in kind of touch, and then as college ended, we somehow, I'm not really sure why or how, but we just kind of reconnected again, and we started speaking all the time. And then obviously from there, it's basically just been, you know, what it is now. But obviously Ash went to uni, and I stayed at home. So I finished college. I were a year behind, so I did my last year of college, finished in 2021, I think. And obviously Ash was in his
second year?
First year of uni at this point. And so me and Ash are speaking and stuff, but I was still, for a start, I was still smoking weed, so I was stuck with these friends who we'd been friends with since school, because a lot of them did smoke weed. And these kind of things, it's the same with, obviously, for drinking, which is more popular in England. Obviously for Americans listening or whatever, I know a lot of you guys kind of smoke and stuff, but you get, when you're in these groups where you're tied together by like a common kind of substance, something that brings you all down, it's a weird kind of dynamic where like you sort of want to hang out with each other all the time, but you know, I always knew like that if it wasn't about weed, these guys would never hang out with me, and I always understood that. But I guess when you're in that kind of moment, you just don't really care, like, because all you're bothered about is that kind of next thing. But as I quit like last year, and this whole like year and a half since I've quit, or year and a bit, has been like massive. It's been like the craziest year of my life, probably.
I've noticed you've been a bit more down, but you've been a bit more connected and a bit more, like, for me personally, it's a bit of a weird balance, because you've been more connected in terms of, in your mind now is clear that your thoughts are clear, everything's clear, you know what you want to do. But I think you looked and felt a bit more lonely than usual, and I don't know and I know people might relate to this in terms of that. But what I find is, with people, as you said, people want to fit in. People they don't want to be an outlier. And as Alex said, the thing is though, I've always struggled with being an outlier. With being inside and fitting in. It's not that I wanted to be an outlier. I wanted to fit in so bad, but the characteristics and the traits I was given just didn't allow me to do that. And for ages, I tried to kind of suppress that. I've tried to do what everyone else does, but it just doesn't bring me happiness, fulfillment. It does the opposite for me. And I wonder if that's how you felt, and that's why you felt that way. And when you're around people, you tend to do. You're some of your 5 friends. Everybody's heard that. Everybody, you're listening now. You all have heard that. And the power of that comes in terms of, if you're around 5 people that are smoking weed all the time, you're going to do what? You're going to do the same thing.
Are you're probably going to end up.
I've never really been around, say, a lot of people that do that. So, which means I've never really had to do that. And I've been an outlier. It's been weird because I'm not a loner, but I'm alone a lot of the time. You know what I mean? It's a weird dynamic. Like I don't have a lot of friends, like you said. I don't want a lot of friends. I have the friends that I need. I need about 5, 6. I've got a brother, so you might as well. You don't have a brother, so it's like having a friend, even though he's the most annoying guy on the planet. I have a cousin. Yeah, he's a prick. But
shout out Colin though, top guy.
Shout out Mo and Colin and Raz. But having those kind of people around, where the family/friends, makes it a lot easier for you. So, and I wonder if that's something that this dynamic you struggled with. But looking in terms of fitting in for people, this desperation to fit in because they want people to look at them and think of them in a certain way. I've always struggled with that, and I think I'm glad I've struggled with that. But just on a broader and wider scale, I think that limits people. I don't know how you probably do agree with me, and I don't know if you're listening, you agree with me. But it limits what you can do in life, because a lot of moves you're scared to take. You're scared to take the risk because of what will someone else do. I don't want to start a podcast, put my face out there because so and so will think this and will think that. And I think a lot of people suffer from that. And I just want to clarify, and I want to let you know that yes, we're doing this now and we're shit scared, and we didn't do a video, we haven't done anything like that, but we're doing it because one, we want to help people, and one day we won't be here, and all the information that we have now will be no use to us. And the information that we've gained, and the struggles and the lonely nights and the early mornings and the late nights and the long hours at work and the depression sessions listening to Drake or whoever else you listen to when you're sad, they're useless and they'll go with us to the grave. But at least if we have the information that we can give out and give to people, and it could be somebody else's guide, I think that'll just be incredible. And just one more point in terms of Alex said fitting in. It was crazy dynamic because inside the friendship group there was another circle inside it, and I was never on the inside of that friendship group.
Yeah, there were. And
it was just so weird, and didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't know how to act about it, and I think that kind of, when I got to college, it kind of clicked, and I was like, I can't do that again. You know what I mean? I need to find people that are my people, and it's just in terms of, have you found your people, or are you still on that search, or are you content with where you're at now?
What are you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking you. It's just because it's a weird one.
Well, no, I don't really have a group of friends. But I mean, that's kind of just part of. That's part of it. It's something that I don't really feel like I massively need anymore. Although I do like, obviously, I like social interactions. Yeah. I feel good. Particularly with girls, to be fair, I usually feel better.
We know you do.
Like, I mean, I guess it kind of gets to a point, especially like when I was kind of coming to the end of smoking weed, like that kind of year before I was thinking about all these things. And then when I did quit, like a year and a few months ago, I was kind of just like, right, so I'm going to have to find something else to do. And I'd been playing guitar and stuff and writing songs, but I hadn't been putting much effort in, because I'm luckily quite naturally talented, really. And I kind of just got to a point where it was like, right, so I'm going to have to find some stuff to do that's... And when especially when you're sober, but when you get rid of kind of people that bring you down, you'll notice that, or when you spend a lot of time by yourself, sober, you know, when I was smoking weed, it'd be like, right, I'll smoke a joint or I'll do a bong or whatever, and I'll sit and watch fucking TV for the next 3 hours and then go to sleep. Then it's like, when I was sober, and especially when I was freshly sober, it was like, right, what am I going to do with my days? And the first kind of conclusion that I came to is, I need to get fit. I need to take care of my body. After years of kind of not taking I'd always exercise my whole life, but you know, doing things like smoking and stuff and then just sitting down for years, it's not a great habit. And so that when you're sober, you kind of and when you're alone, you get these ideas where you're like, right, I need to do something, but you'll notice that your brain naturally gives you productive suggestions. Like when I had all these friends, I'd be like, right, smoke a joint, go see your friends, or go see your friends and smoke a joint. Then it was when I was alone, it was like, go to the gym, take care of your body, you know, maybe work on this anxiety problem that you've had, work on some music. Those were kind of the only real thoughts that I ever had. And I mean, you kind of just get used to being alone a lot of the time. You know, it's just part of the game. And the only kind of, I mean, I see like I talk to my mum and stuff like basically every day, and like get a bit of interaction in. Go down to kickboxing, I speak to the guys there, and it's not like we're great friends, but you know, they're nice guys and stuff, and you know, we're letting off some steam, we're trying to punch each other in the face, and they're all friendly. And like, I think you can get that kind of social need, or that
outside,
fill that social kind of cup, without having to really go and meet your friends for hours.
Yeah. And what's the advice you'd give to somebody that was, say, in the position that you were in last year, transitioning from, say, you've got a habit and you're doing something and you're transitioning to, it could be a good, could be a bad habit, transitioning to something different, and one, you've grappled with people's perceptions of you, and that's affected you, but two is your perception of yourself and how that's impacted yourself. What advice would you give to people, to say an Alex Woblington a year ago in the transition stage?
Yeah.
What advice are you giving?
I'd say kind of one of the first things I'd say is if you're not, and this is not going to sort your life out, your mind out, but it's a priority. If you're not in physical health, that has to be the number one priority. And I'll go into the other stuff, but just as like a side note, if you sit there and, you know, you're a bit fat or you're a bit overweight, or you're looking at yourself and you're going, man, I stopped playing football or whatever years ago and I haven't been doing anything, the first thing you need to do is get yourself to a gym, or get yourself, you know, sign yourself up to play football, anything, because you'll honestly be surprised about how much like exercise actually affects your mental health. And I know everybody says it, and everyone that's depressed doesn't believe it. You know, I talk to my sister about this all the time, and she's like, oh yeah, you don't understand. I'm like, yeah, but I do. Trust me, when I exercise and I come back, when I go kickboxing and I'm sparring for an hour against high level guys and I'm trying not to get my face kicked off, and I come back afterwards, I feel so much less stress because you've got the tension out. You feel better because you know you're taking care of your body, obviously your heart and stuff, but exercise is also good for your brain. That is the number one priority. So if you've got nothing to do, if you're starting some new sort of thing and you're losing touch with your old friends, or you're wanting to kind of distance yourself, first thing, get yourself to the gym, get yourself running, get yourself some exercise, even a bit of walking. A walk always helps. Me and Ash have been going for walks for since we've known each other. I love going for walks, but in terms of kind of the mental side, and it's something that I've been doing, it's like you've got to, and it's something I'm still doing. Don't think I've sorted it out, but you need to look at yourself and think, right, I can rebuild this guy. So that, you know, there was Alex from 2022, which I think is probably when I was somewhere around my lowest, or maybe 2023, parts of that, before I quit. And you've got to look at yourself and be like, right, that guy, forget about Alex from 2022. He's dead. You know, he's never, the things that I did that I regret, and there's many. You can't. You know, you can't. I can't go back and change them. There is literally nothing I can do.
We wouldn't be here right now if you did change them. The same with the things I've done in my life.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I'm sure you're like. I'm so ashamed of some of the things I've done, and I really feel bad about some of the things I've done.
But it brings you to the point.
That guy, forget about, Alex or Ash from 2023, because that guy did some bad things, but he didn't know what he knew now. And at the end of the day, we are human, and we're always going to fall foul to kind of mistakes.
But if you didn't do those mistakes, you wouldn't have learned, and you wouldn't be right now in the position that you're in now. Yeah. And it's just important to remember that, and for anybody listening and things like that. And I know we're going a little bit askew, but in general, but it's in terms of the two main takeaways that we do emphasise now. That looking at it is, the one is who you are is down to you, and it may be influenced by the way other people perceive you and how you want other people to perceive you, but how you live your life should be determined by what you want from it. And that is really, really important, because you will find yourself at times doing stuff that you don't necessarily want to do. Yeah, like guys act a certain way to get girls. There's no doubt about that. Guys, a lot of guys do. Most guys do. You know what I mean? So it's like there will be times where you do have to conform a little bit, but it's just being authentic and staying to yourself and having the conversation with yourself that you know that what I'm doing now is not 100% what I feel like I want to be doing, but you've got the awareness to tell yourself why you're doing it. Because I feel like a lot of times people do stuff on autopilot, like you say, Alex, because of what they want other people to perceive them as, but they don't realise the biggest mistake is not doing it. The biggest mistake is having the accountability and the inflection to realise that you're doing it because other people want to do it. So I want to drive a fast car and have a nice house. One, because I don't like to work 9 to 5. I fucking hate it. I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing wrong with the environment, the job, anything. I just don't want to sit at a desk or do something for someone else for 8 hours of my day, especially when the 24 hours in a day, 8 of them is sleeping. You spend 8 of them at work, and the other 4 or 5 are at night or in the morning. You ain't got the time. I don't want to waste my life like that. I don't want to die. That's not how I want to be remembered. That's why I do it, and that's one of the biggest pushes. But then somebody could say to me, well, 200k a year would be enough for you. And it really could be. Yeah. But, my number's 100 million, 100 to 400 million. And people think, oh, that's so crazy. You know how hard that is, blah, blah, blah. 100 and all these things. But a part of me is to show people. It is to, fuck you. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Probably not on YouTube. But fuck you.
I think you can do a few thoughts.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm going to show you that you doubted me, that I can actually achieve great things, and I was meant to achieve great things, and you didn't believe I could, and you undermined me, but here I am, and here is why I've done it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I think that's a fantastic reason. If you channel it correctly, if you channel people's perceptions of you, if you channel it to make the best version of yourself, I think there's nothing out there better than that. But if you sit and you conform and you go out every single weekend and you drink and you do this and you buy this and you buy that and you post this and you do that and you just waste your life away before you realise it, because at some point you will realise. It will catch up with you. You'll realise that you waste your life away living for someone else and not living for yourself. But I just want you to channel everything that you want people to perceive you as to become the person that you want to be, not what others want you to be. And I think there's nothing more powerful and more profound than that in reality. And I think achievement and being great, which is why we're fucking doing this. That's why. So it's just about being accountable and doing it for the right reasons, or knowing the reasons why you're doing it. That's just as good for me.
Yeah. I mean, the only kind of thing that I would suggest for someone, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, fuck, I'm a bit of a joke right now, I'm at rock bottom, I'm whatever. You've just got to take a step, man. And obviously it's not easy, but it gets to a certain point, and I kind of reached this point a year ago. It was like, and I still reach it sometimes now, where I'll sit down basically every evening and I'll be like, right, I can't be arsed writing a tune today. And sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm like, I'll go in my room. Even when I don't do it, I'll go in my room and I'll think, so you you're sat not doing it when you could be doing it. Like, and I feel guilty for it, but you know, you've got to kind of look at yourself and be able to just go, right, man. If I feel like shit today, say you are at rock bottom, you know, and you've been doing whatever, just watching your life go away, take a better action, even if it's something as simple as, right, I'm going to go out for a walk and maybe just think about where I'm at. I'm going to maybe watch a couple of YouTube videos from some people who've sort of made or are at where you want to be. Or not necessarily, you know, guys like Alex Hormozy, I don't want to be a fucking business entrepreneur, but the guy knows his shit, and you know, he can give you a lot of things are transferable. Slap some of him on, you know, slap some other YouTubers on.
Them motivational videos.
Yeah, motivational videos.
So
go out for
Goggins. Who's gonna carry the logs?
Literally anything. Literally, just do anything. When you're sat there watching Netflix on an evening, and I get it, you're probably tired. You know, you've been at college or you've been at uni or you've been working, but it kind of gets to a point where it's like, right, you don't have to do anything. So you either make the effort or you don't. Either way, today's going to go and tomorrow's going to come. Whether you're there or not, whether you're dead or alive, tomorrow's going to come. And whether the world's here today or the world's here tomorrow, tomorrow's going to come.
Yeah.
So you've kind of just... It gets to a point where you've got to look at yourself and go, right, I either just do this thing or I don't.
Yeah.
You know, you either accept it, you either look at yourself in the mirror and go, right, I'm going to not put any effort into my own life and I'm going to reap the consequences. And when death does visit me one day, I'll have nothing to show for it. Or you look at yourself and you go, I don't know how it's going to work out because I can't see into the future, as nobody can. But what is the worst that could happen if I tried doing something that I feel I could be successful in? I mean, you know, the worst thing that could ever happen is you've learnt a load of great skills and you're a better guy than you were originally. I mean, that's the absolute worst thing that could happen. So even you do all these things, say you try do this for 10 years or whatever, hypothetically. You try be a musician, say in my footsteps, and say it didn't work out, or I chose to give up after 10 years or whatever. And I've learnt all these skills, I've done gigs, I've done, you know, say by this point I've done gigs all around the world, all around Europe, I've wrote loads of songs, I've met amazing people, I've learnt so many things, I've been able to, like, grow and mature as a man. How, you look back at yourself and you go, right, maybe it didn't work out, but I learnt so much, I can use these skills for something again. And you're never gonna, like, whatever you learn along the way of this journey of trying to sort of better yourself, whether the idea works or not, it's a win. I mean, you as long as you're learning something,
you're doing something with your life.
As long as you're not stagnating.
You know what it is? A lot of people don't want to do it. They think of all the reasons why they can't achieve something, and it's fucking hard, and you will want to give up. How many times do you want to give up?
Basically
all the time. Every day I want to give up sometimes.
Multiple times
every day I'm saying sometimes, maybe I wish I was someone else, but I'm not. I'm here and you're you, and the goals you have and the vision you have in your head was meant for someone else. And it's just like, you just have to keep putting a foot forward, and you have to keep turning up if you want to make something good of your life, if you want to be purposeful. Otherwise, you're just going to get the same results. The definition of insanity is what?
Repeating the same thing and expecting different
outcomes. So it's just about that, and it's just in life, it's one of them things you have to take a leap of faith. And it's crazy because you work hard today and you sacrifice, say, I'm not going out to the club because I'm trying to work for a better future, but tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
No, tomorrow's
not guaranteed. But if it is guaranteed and I live to see tomorrow, I will have put myself in a great situation to be there. There's no point saying, you know what, I'm going to live tonight because tomorrow I might not be there, but then you're there tomorrow and you have to live with the consequences of tonight.
Yeah, because the chances are you are going to be there tomorrow. I mean, obviously we don't know, but I mean, I've been to sleep a fucking million times, it feels like, and every time I've woke up, obviously I can't guarantee that I'm going to wake up, but I'm reasonably sure every time that I'm going to wake up. And Ash is right, you know, if you can't live your life using philosophies like that, the whole thing about time, because you know, you could go out and have a drink, but to be fair, you know, if you were to die tonight, you know, how would you rather go out sat at home trying to achieve something or die in the club.
What would you have to show for it as well? What would you have to show in the club they'd forget you?
For a start, it'd be embarrassing as for all birds there.
Yeah, fucking hell.
All girls are there and they're watching you die. Whereas you're at home, you're chasing your dream, you just die. I mean, would you rather die, you know, working towards something, or would you rather die dancing in the club looking like a goofy motherfucker?
And if something happened to me now, or you, Alex, at least you can listen back to these conversations. You can think of what we thought of and how we thought and our perspective on life, and you see the development. And at the end of the day, we're starting off podcast. It's not going to be crisp, and it's not going to be the way you see the ones on YouTube to begin with. But the more we do it, the leap of faith is taken, the more we do it. And we wouldn't do it if we didn't believe we can get where we need to get to. And we talk like this, and we talk with conviction, and we talk with honesty and authenticity, and we talk with courage, and say that we're going to do this, and we're going to achieve this, and we open up. Like, I don't like going out and telling people I want to be a professional footballer, and I want to have a business, and I want to quit my 9 to 5 in the next few months, next few weeks, and replace it with an income where I can train every day to reach my goal of being professional football and not have to rely on 8 hours a day to work for money. I don't like telling people that, because that kind of energy of most people kind of limits you. And that's, again, I'm scared of what people might think if I tell them the truth. But I'm here on a podcast. But obviously my face is not here and your face is not here, not yet. But I'm being honest with you, and Alex is being honest with you, and we're telling you that the leap is worth it. The improvement that you make as a person is worth it. Because at the end of the day, you're better for it. You're morally obligated to achieve great things, as Jordan Peterson put it. Because it is selfish to not try and achieve great things. To be in the club all the time, chasing girls, or to be chasing things that aren't of any actual relevance or substance to the world, is selfish, because you're denying the world of your unique niche talents and abilities that you could have to offer. You could have something that the world needs, and the world could really profit off that, but you're so selfish that you think that just chilling and watching Netflix and going to the club and all that is what's meant for you. You know what I mean? So it'd be selfish if me and Alex didn't do this podcast and share the information we've been on, because we've struggled for a number of years now, and we might struggle for a number of years more. We might have more success and still have different struggles. The money will come, and the money will come for me and Alex, and the money's not the priority. The money just helps us get into a situation where we can help more people, and we can help more people in our family. We can do more, but the time will come. But we will have different issues, and we'll have to learn to handle them. That is just what life is. Life, you just learn every single day. And it's a journey where when you get to the destination, you're on another journey. So it's just about, are you on the right journey for yourself, or are you on any journey? Because a lot of people are not on any journey, and then we're caring about so-and-so's opinion, but they're not doing anything with their life of meaning or importance, and you're not even important in their life at all. They don't think about you for more than a minute a day.
Facts. I mean, the kind of, as we sort of get to the end of this episode, because, you know, it's a lot to take in, the only thing I'd kind of say to people that are in that kind of position that I've been in, and that I still sort of struggle with daily, is, you know, think of like your life as like a long drive, a long journey to somewhere. And it's kind of funny, because by the time you actually reach the destination, that's the end of your life.
Yeah, fucking hell.
So you've got to kind of look at it as, I mean, that's not the greatest analogy in the world, but if you just spend your whole time thinking about the destination, which we do as humans, obviously we're programmed to think about the future, that's just what we do, but you spend your whole time thinking about the destination, by the time you get there, you're done.
You're done.
You can't even think about the destination. So, you know, sit and just think about the now. Whilst you're driving in this car, thinking about your life and the destination, don't think about the destination. Just think, I've got my hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
Let me just focus on exactly what's in front of me.
And where I'm going.
And the destination, if you keep focusing on the road in front of you, you'll eventually get to the destination.
And miss all the distractions.
Yeah. But if you're not focusing on the road in front of you, you might meet your destination earlier than you think. And if you take your eyes off the road.
Yeah. Analogy I gave to my mum and maybe to Alex a while ago is, working 9 to 5 is weird, because yeah, I'm in a good job, they pay me well, not far from home, I don't do hard work. But what it feels like is, I'm in a vehicle, I'm in the back seat, somebody else is driving, my boss is the owners. they're doing well for themselves, and they've built a great company, and they're competing in the market and they're growing every year. I'm in the back of their car, and it's a coach with the rest of the staff. They're driving and they're going to their destination because they can go on holiday. I think they're on their 4th holiday this year, or 5th, 6th between them, and I've not even left the country this year. And we're going to their destination, and they've got the financial freedom, and they can book the time off whenever they want. I have to schedule in my time off. I get 21 days a year, minus 4 for Christmas time, even though we're closed. And then I get 18 holidays a year of my own days back, working, 256 days? You get 18 days back. And they're driving a coach, and I'm just on the coach. And because the money they pay you every single month, and the convenience of the job there, it's like they put your favourite song on the radio, and you're looking out the window and looking at all the beautiful views, and you're taking all it in, and you got your favourite music, so you're distracted. But what you don't realise being distracted is you're not fucking going to where you need to go. Right. You're going to where they need to go. So in life, you don't want to be on a coach going to a destination that you don't want to go to because you're too idle and too blind to see it. You want to be able to drive your own car and go to the destination you want, and if your car gets a puncture, it's you that has to sort it out. It's your issue. If the radio's not working, it affects you. You don't want to be there struggling in somebody else's goal, somebody else's play, doing a minor role. You should be the main character in your story.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree fully, and it's just at the end of the day, you as I and Ash, like, we can sit here and talk all this talk. It has to be done, and it gets to a point, if you're listening to this, it's up to you, man. You do it or you don't do it, because I guarantee you'll be dead sooner than you think, as will I, as will Ash, and hundreds of years will have passed before you even know it, and
you won't even know.
No one will even, and no one will ever have mentioned you again. And even the greatest men ever never get mentioned again after a certain point. So you can sit there and, if you don't want to do anything, then that's fair, but you're the one who's got to live with the fact that you basically just wasted your life. And as far as we know, you only get one of them. So just think about it, man. It's simple as that. And, with that being said, we're going to kind of leave this episode
as it is,
because, it's a lot to sort of absorb. So, thanks to everyone for listening. Obviously, we appreciate it.
If you've got any questions or any comments, leave them below. We will try and answer them.
Yeah, for sure.
We do want to connect. Alex obviously runs the channel. He's better with all the recording stuff. But we will kind of view the messages, and any questions, just reach out to us, and we'll pop our social media in there if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna set up like a socials for the podcast and stuff, and Instagram, and so we'll get that going. And please, obviously, it's only the second episode, but the plan is to build a community here where we're interacting with people, and we'd obviously love it if people would kind of give us some suggestions and topics to talk about. Yeah, for sure. So obviously, with that being said, thanks for listening, and we'll be back within the next week with another episode for sure.
So signing out, Alex and Ash.
Right, thanks a lot.
Right.
Bye.